Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really fascinating, I think. It's this idea of controlling options. Our sources call it Law 31. And our mission here is to unpack how skillfully crafted choices can lead people exactly where you want them to go.
Right.
All while making them feel like they were the ones in the driver's seat, you know? It's not about brute force, more like shaping the decision space itself.
Exactly. And what's really fundamental here, as the sources lay out, is that the best deceptions, they seem to give the other person a real choice.
Okay.
But actually, every path leads right back to your advantage. It's like forcing someone onto the horns of a dilemma. Yeah, where whichever way they turn, they get, well, gored, metaphorically speaking. They're stuck.
That's a vivid image. So it's less about forcing someone and more about making all the other options just disappear or seem terrible.
Precisely. That's the subtlety.
Why does that work so well, though? And, I mean, how often do you think we encounter this or even fall for it, just day to day?
Oh, constantly. Often without realizing it.
So let's really dig into this core psychological trick. You give people options, right? But no matter what they pick, it serves your purpose. They feel like they're in control.
But they're actually your puppets, in a way, yeah. And it often plays out as that classic lesser of two evils choice.
Ah, okay.
You set up a situation where, from their point of view, neither option is great. But one is clearly less bad.
Right.
And when they choose that less bad one, they're actually doing exactly what you wanted them to do. The brilliance is making your goal seem like their freely chosen solution.
Okay, I think an example would really help here. Our sources have a great one, right? Bismarck and Virchow.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic. So you've got Otto von Bismarck, the German chancellor, this really forceful guy.
The Iron Chancellor.
Exactly. And he's constantly getting under the skin of Rudolf Virchow, who's this pathologist, but also a liberal politician, always criticizing him.
Right.
So Bismarck gets furious and challenges Virchow to a duel.
Wow. Okay. Intense.
Very. But Virchow, as the one challenged, gets to choose the weapons.
The crucial part.
Crucial. So Virchow apparently holds up two identical sausages, looks completely serious.
Sausages.
And he says something like, one of these is packed with deadly trichinella worms, the other is perfectly fine. Your Excellency can choose whichever one he wishes to eat, and I shall eat the remaining one.
No way. What happened?
Bismarck just called off the duel immediately.
Huh. Okay, let's unpack that. That's genius.
It really is. What's fascinating here is how Virchow completely avoids the fight. He doesn't refuse. He doesn't argue.
He just makes the options lethal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He forces Bismarck into a choice where any move is terrible for Bismarck. Eat a sausage, risk agonizing death. Let Virchow eat one, and if it's poisoned, Bismarck looks like a murderer. The sheer danger, the sort of grotesque absurdity of either choice forces Bismarck's hand. He had to back down. Virchow controlled the options.
A masterclass in avoiding conflict by making the choices impossible. Okay, let's shift gears now. From sausages to czars. Ivan the Terrible.
A much bigger, much darker stage, yeah. Ivan IV, early in his reign, he had this huge problem.
Right.
Russia desperately needed reforms, modernization, centralization. But Ivan just didn't have the real power.
Who did?
The boyars,
Yeah.
the old aristocracy, these powerful princes, they basically ran the show and constantly undermined him.
Okay, so that's the setup.
And the turning point, it really comes in 1553. Ivan gets incredibly sick, thinks he's dying. He begs the boyars, pleads with them to swear allegiance to his infant son, Dmitri, to ensure succession.
And they refused.
Many hesitated, some flat out refused. It was a massive wake-up call for Ivan. He realized just how little actual authority he commanded.
Ouch. That must have stung.
Deeply. He recovered, but he never forgot that moment. And then, in the following years, things got worse. Powerful boyars started defecting, joining Russia's enemies like Poland, plotting against him. His position felt really precarious.
So what does he do? He can't just force them.
He does something completely unexpected. Audacious, really. December 1564, Moscow wakes up one morning.
Yeah.
And the Tsar's packing up. Hundreds of sleds loaded with treasures, furniture, icons, the whole court. And they just leave. No explanation.
Just leaves. Where did he go?
To a fortified village, Alexandrov-Sloboda, south of Moscow. And then silence. For a whole month.
Wow. What was the effect in Moscow?
Absolute terror. panic, shops closed down, people were rioting in the streets, they were terrified. Ivan had abandoned them.
Abandoned them to who?
To the boyars, the very people they blamed for corruption and misrule. The fear wasn't just losing the Tsar, it was being left to the mercy of the hated nobility.
So Ivan knew this would happen.
Oh, absolutely. This was calculated. Then January 3rd, a letter arrives from Ivan. It's read aloud publicly.
And what does it say?
He explains his abdication. Why? Because the treason, the corruption, the betrayal of the boyars?
Clever.
Yeah.
Shifting all the blame.
Perfectly. The public fury, already simmering, turns directly onto the boyars. Merchants, commoners, even the clergy, they're terrified of anarchy and furious with the nobility.
So they want him back.
Desperately. A huge delegation, church leaders, merchants, even some boyars forced to go along travels to Ivan's retreat. They beg him, implore him to return and rule.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, right?
Yeah.
What's the choice he gives them?
He makes them wait, listens to their pleas for days, seems unmoved. Then finally he presents his terms, his choice.
Which is?
Option A, grant him absolute total power. Autocracy. Let him deal with the traitors, the boyars as he sees fit, with no interference. Establish his own personal territory, the Oprichnina, ruled directly by him.
And option B?
Option B, fine. Let him stay abdicated. They can go find themselves a new leader. Good luck with that.
Whoa. So absolute power. Or complete chaos and likely civil war.
Exactly. That's the dilemma he forces them into. It's a stark choice. Accept a potential despot, someone you know can be brutal. Or face the utter collapse of the state. And, well, faced with that,
They chose the despot.
they begged him to take absolute power. They essentially handed it to him. So when he returned to Moscow, hailed as a savior.
Yeah.
Our sources point out, how could they really complain later about his dictatorial methods? They asked for it. They chose it.
Because the alternative was unthinkable?
Precisely. His false withdrawal wasn't just running away. It was a strategic masterstroke to force them to give him the power he couldn't take directly. They walked right into his cage.
Incredible. It's chilling, actually. Okay, let's pivot completely now. From 16th century Russia to 17th century France. Salons, courtesans, Ninon de l'Enclos.
Yes, a totally different world, but the principle applies beautifully. Ninon was a famous courtesan known for her wit, her independence.
Right.
And her challenge was unique for her profession, especially back then. She wanted independence. She wanted to avoid being dependent on patrons, avoid the dangers, the loss of control, especially as she got older.
How did she manage that? Most courtesans were essentially dependent.
She created this really innovative system. After she came back to Paris around 1648, she basically sorted her suitors into two distinct groups.
Okay, what were they?
First, you had the payers. The payers, these guys paid for her company and services.
Standard enough, maybe.
But here's the twist, Ninon added. They paid, yes, but she decided if and when she'd sleep with them. Their money bought only the possibility, not a guarantee. She was completely in control.
Ah, okay. That's different. And the second group?
The second group she called the martyrs. These men didn't pay a cent.
Martyrs? Why add the name?
Because they visited her purely for her friendship, her conversation, her intellectual sparkle. They adored her, but platonically suffering the martyrdom of unfulfilled desire, you could say.
So you have payers who might not get what they paid for, and non-payers who get her friendship.
Yeah.
What holds this whole system together? What's the genius part?
The genius, the sources say, is this tiny little shimmering possibility, the critical factor,
Which is?
that a martyr just might
One day.
become a favorite, the chosen one.
A favorite. What did that mean?
That meant Ninon would devote herself to him completely. Intense passion, intellectually, emotionally, but only for a limited time, maybe a week, maybe a few months. It was the ultimate prize.
And the payers. Could they become a favorite?
Never.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That path was closed to them. And even for the martyrs, becoming a favorite was incredibly rare. Most remained just friends, hoping eternally.
Wow. So how did this actually work for her? It sounds kind of exploitative, maybe?
Well, it worked brilliantly for her. It's all about that allure of hope, isn't it?
Explain that.
The sources talk about this illusion that something wonderful, riches, glory, or in this case, Ninon's ultimate favor, might just fall into your lap someday. It's like an irresistible carrot.
Right.
This tiny option of a dream, no matter how slim the odds, it lures people. It makes them accept situations that might otherwise seem, well, ridiculous, as the sources put it.
So the martyrs keep coming back for the conversation, but secretly hoping.
Exactly, hoping for that golden ticket. And the payers keep paying, hoping their turn will come. Even though the favory status is impossible for them, they still get some access.
And the result for Nina?
Her salon thrived. This system, which seemed scandalous at first because it flipped the power dynamic she was choosing, not just being chosen, it actually increased her suitors.
Why?
Because each group felt they were choosing their path. The payers maybe felt pragmatic. The martyrs perhaps felt intellectually superior or romantically devoted. But both groups were operating within her system, providing exactly what she wanted: money, admiration, company, independence, all while feeling they were pursuing their own ends. They willingly participated.
They chose an option that suited her perfectly.
Okay, so let's get into the psychology then. Why are we, so susceptible to this?
Well, our sources point out something interesting about words like freedom, options, choice.
Yeah.
They evoke this really powerful feeling, the sense of possibility, that often goes way beyond what the actual choices offer. That's so true. You feel good just having options, even if they're not great options.
Right. And when you look closely, our choices are often quite limited, aren't they? It's usually A or B, maybe C.
Yeah.
The rest of the alphabet is just hidden, off the table. But as long as we see some choice, even a narrow one, we tend not to question what's missing. We sort of choose to believe the game is fair. We want to believe we have agency.
So we don't probe too deeply.
Exactly. And there's a deeper reason, psychologically. Too much freedom, too many options that can actually create anxiety, indecision, paralysis.
Like the paradox of choice.
Precisely. So paradoxically, having limited options can feel comforting, simpler, less stressful, which makes us less likely to challenge the smallness of those choices. We accept the cage because the vast open sky seems too daunting.
So manipulators exploit this by giving us just enough choice to feel okay, but not enough to be truly free.
That's the idea. It's a fundamental psychological lever.
There's that analogy the sources use about the bird.
Ah, yes. It's quite evocative. If you can get the bird to walk into the cage on its own, it will sing that much more prettily.
Oof. Yeah, that hits home. If you feel you chose the cage, you're less likely to resent it, maybe even defend it.
Exactly. The self-imposed limitation feels less like a limitation.
Okay, so let's get practical. Our sources list a bunch of specific tactics for controlling options. Can we walk through some of those?
Absolutely. They give some great examples. First up, color the choices.
Color the choices. How does that work?
Think Henry Kissinger with Richard Nixon. Kissinger, as Secretary of State, would apparently present Nixon with, say, 3 or 4 possible courses of action.
Okay. Standard procedure, maybe.
But he would frame them, describe them, color them in such a way that his preferred option always looked like the most rational, the most sensible, the best one compared to the others.
Subtle manipulation of the presentation.
Exactly. And Nixon, who the sources suggest was often insecure and relied heavily on Kissinger, would consistently pick the option Kissinger had subtly highlighted. He likely never realized he was being steered. Works well on leaders who feel a bit unsure of themselves.
Oh, clever. Okay, what's another one?
How about force the resistor? This one's counterintuitive. It's associated with Dr. Milton Erickson, the psychiatrist.
Right, the hypnosis guy.
That's him. So if he had patients who were really resistant, constantly relapsing into old habits, instead of telling them not to relapse, he might actually order them to do it. He'd say, okay, this week I want you to feel just as bad as you did before. Go ahead, relapse.
Seriously, why?
Because faced with a direct command to do the negative thing, these resistant, willful types would often instinctively rebel by not doing it. They'd choose to avoid the relapse to defy the order.
Huh. So he gets the outcome he wants by ordering the opposite.
Precisely. It leverages their own resistance against itself.
Yeah.
Very effective with stubborn or contrary individuals.
That's fascinating. Okay, next.
Alter the playing field. Think John D. Rockefeller building Standard Oil.
Okay, the master strategist.
Totally. When smaller oil producers refused to sell out to him, he didn't always just strong-arm them directly.
What did he do?
He went sideways. He started secretly buying up the railway companies that transported their oil.
Oh, wow.
Then, suddenly, these small producers found their transport costs skyrocketing. Or maybe the railways just couldn't accommodate their shipments anymore. Funny how that happened.
So he controlled their lifeline without them even realizing it at first.
Exactly. He altered the entire landscape, the playing field. Their options shrunk dramatically, not because he directly threatened them, but because he controlled the context around them. Their only real choice left was often to sell out to Rockefeller.
Brutal but indirect. Okay, what else?
The shrinking options. This is linked to an art dealer named Ambroise Vollard.
How did he use it?
So, say a wealthy client comes in, interested in his saisons. Vollard might casually show 3 really good ones. Maybe he seems a bit distracted, doesn't even quote a price. The client comes back the next day. Vollard shows some different saison, maybe. Not quite as stunning, pretends they're the same ones, or just what's available now, day after that. Even less impressive works. Or maybe the price on yesterday's pieces has mysteriously gone up.
I see where this is going.
Yeah. The buyer starts to feel this pressure. The options are visibly shrinking, getting worse or more expensive. They realize they'd better grab what's on offer today because tomorrow it'll be even less appealing.
Creates urgency for indecisive buyers.
Exactly. It forces the hand of those who might otherwise dither.
Makes sense. Another one.
The weak man on the precipice. This comes from Cardinal de Retz, a 17th century French political agitator.
All right.
He often dealt with the Duke of Orleans, who was notoriously indecisive, couldn't make up his mind about anything important.
How did Reds handle that?
Instead of logical arguments, Retz would paint vivid pictures of all the dangers surrounding the Duke, often exaggerating them wildly. He'd make it seem like the Duke was standing on the edge of a cliff about to fall.
Creating fear.
Intense fear. This emotional pressure, this feeling of imminent doom, would often jolt the Duke into making a decision, into taking some action, just to escape the feeling of being on the precipice. Fear trumped reason for the indecisive man.
Using emotion to force a choice. Okay, keep going.
Brothers in crime. This is more of a con artist technique, really. Serge Stavisky, a famous French swindler in the 1920s, was a master.
How does it work?
You basically implicate your victim, even subtly, in your own shady dealings. Make them feel complicit.
Ah, so they have dirt on themselves too.
Exactly. Even if their involvement is minor, that shared guilt, that shared secret, creates a bond. It narrows their options dramatically because they can't expose you without exposing themselves. It buys their silence, makes them easier to manipulate.
Nasty but effective.
Yeah.
Okay, one more.
Last one. The horns of a dilemma, which we touched on earlier.
Right, where any choice hurts them.
Yes. General Sherman's march through Georgia is a military example. He split his army into 2 wings. The Confederates never knew which wing was the main threat or where he'd strike next. If they concentrated against one wing, the other could flank them or hit their supply lines. If they retreated from one, they might run right into the other.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Pretty much. It's like a trial lawyer boxing in a witness. Did you leave the house before or after 8 p.m.? Either answer might contradict earlier testimony. The key is the speed, the pressure. Don't give them time to find a third way out.
Like that Armenian king story you mentioned.
Exactly. The clever subject demands a pot of gold. King says, "You're a liar." Subject says, "Okay, if I'm a liar, give me the golden apple reserved for liars." The king is trapped. Admit the debt or validate the liar with the prize. No good option.
Wow. Okay, so looking at all these tactics, there's a common thread, isn't there, about blame and resentment.
Absolutely critical takeaway.
Yeah.
If you are obviously the one causing someone pain or forcing their hand, expect resistance, expect resentment, expect payback down the line. But if they feel somehow that they chose their own path, even if it leads to misfortune, if they feel they are the agents of their own bad situation,
They submit more quietly.
much more quietly. They might blame fate or circumstances or even themselves. It connects back to that Machiavelli insight, right? Wounds we inflict on ourselves of our own choice somehow hurt less psychologically than those inflicted by others. Making them feel complicit is key.
That's a really powerful psychological point. So this leads to the reversal idea, doesn't it? When not to control options.
Right. It's an important nuance. The main reason to control options so carefully is often to hide your power, to disguise your agency, especially if you're worried about backlash or your position is weak.
So you make it look like their choice or fate's choice.
Exactly. It's generally smarter, more elegant than just overt force.
But you asked earlier, is it always the best move to limit their choices? Are there times when giving more freedom is actually better for you?
That's the counterintuitive twist. And yes, the sources suggest there are definitely times when letting your rivals or opponents have more freedom, more room to operate, can be advantageous.
How so? That sounds risky.
It can be. But think about it. If they're operating freely, making their own moves, what do you get?
You get to watch them, see what they do.
Precisely. You get invaluable intelligence. You can observe their strategies, their habits, their weaknesses. You can gather information.
And then plan a much more effective counter-move later on.
Exactly. You let them reveal their hand first.
Is there an example of this?
The banker James Rothschild in the 19th century is a good one. He apparently preferred not to constantly control his opponent's every move.
Why?
He felt that if he always restricted them, he'd never see their full strategy emerge. He let them play out their plans to some extent, watched carefully, and then acted decisively, often with much greater force and effect because he understood their game better. It requires patience, though.
Strategic patience.
There.
Let them have rope.
Let's see what they do with it.
Yeah. Okay. So wrapping this up then, the real power of this Law 31, controlling options, it's all about subtlety, isn't it? The illusion of choice.
It really is. It's not about iron fists, usually. It's about carefully designing the situation, framing the choices so that the path you want them to take seems like the only reasonable or at least painful one to them.
Making them complicit in their own manipulation, essentially.
That's the crux of it. They feel they chose it freely, even if you gently guided them there the whole time.
So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. As you navigate your world, how might understanding this change how you see the choices you're given? Whether it's what you buy, who you vote for, decisions at work, what options are really on the table, are you truly choosing freely? Or is there maybe an unseen hand subtly coloring the choices and narrowing the field?
Something to definitely keep in mind.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Always a pleasure.